All right, welcome back to another episode of Procrastination Podcast. We're talking about anime life and everything in between. My name's Matt,
I'm Robert.
I'm Alonzo.
and we got a very interesting topic here for you guys here again today. But before we get into that, what y'all been up to? Procrastinating on anything right now?
Oh man, I have so much stuff I want to watch. There's quite a few good things this season. I think I've heard. Uh, 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 so I want to watch that stuff. But you know, we're here for the podcast. I want to do the podcast. Oh, and also, so yesterday I went to my sister's place because she got a new place in North Carolina, and
Like,
now she's in, well, she was in Williamston. She now is in Washington. Here's her address. No, I'm kidding. But
drop by.
yeah. And while I was there, I like, she just moved into this place, and my mom had some furniture, and she was like, "Hey, I want you to help me get this furniture over to her." And I was like, "Oh no, I don't do that. No. I'm not the one. I don't move furniture. That's not who I am. I'm a small man, and I don't want to move things." And she's like, well, no one else is gonna do it. It's like it's just me and your two uncles. So, and they're not gonna travel to North Carolina. So I was like, okay, fine. I will try to help you. So then I get there, and it's a giant fucking couch. Like, it is too big to fit through the door, and we measure
Of
it, and
course it is.
we're like, no.
Of course it
I
is.
don't know how this got into a door at any time, but this is too big for every door. Like, we measured the standard size of the door frame, and we're like, no, there's no fucking way. Anyways, we somehow had to angles and stuff to get it to actually go through or whatever. And then it was like a small couch, like a love seat, and then it was like a big couch, full size couch. And yeah, we got that all done. And it took forever. And then so I drive an electric car, so I drove down there, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just get a charge on the way back. Like, on the way, you know, I'll just look after I get there. And then I end up looking after there, and there's no charging stations open. Like, they're all are in behind like lock and key and shit. And they're like, if you want access to this one, you have to ask the kiosk person, and they close at like 8 o'clock or whatever. And by this time, it's already like 9 o'clock, and we're like, oh damn, I'm this is pretty bad. This may I may not be able to get home. So luckily my sister had well, she has an outlet for a dryer. So then I was like, oh, I can plug it into her dryer plug. And then when I go to plug it in, it does not fit. Like, it has a different plug, like a different outlet. So then I'm
Of
like, oh,
course.
I'm really fucked. I'm completely fucked. And then we realized that like the oven is electric too, and we're like, all right, let's pull the oven out. Let's see if we can plug into the oven, the oven outlet. And somehow the oven outlet is different than the dryer outlet, and it was the right fit.
Oh,
And
let's
I,
go.
I and
Nice.
I had to charge there for 8 hours. So so I had to stay the night
Dang.
over her house so that I can get home. And my mom drove home in the U-Haul. She was gone. She was gone right after the furniture was delivered. She was like, all right, I'm out. Thanks for helping.
You gonna figure that
Goodbye.
out. I believe in you. You gonna figure that out.
Yeah. Like, quite
That's
the
funny.
day. And I got back home today at 12 o'clock. It was not fun. So
That's why you
that
need that nap. That's why
yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sacrificing the nap for the podcast. True dedication to the
And also,
crafts.
my sister and her boyfriend are the nightest night owls I have ever seen. This this
Latest
this
night
why
owls.
he gets off of work at like 2:30. He comes in the house, and I'm like, okay, there's probably gonna talk for a little bit. And they're just like, oh no, put on the game, put on the this, and they just start like normal interaction, like this is a normal time of the day. I'm like, bro, it's all right, it's 3 o'clock now. And then I'm like, all right, it's 3:30 now. All right, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. What are y'all doing? And then they're like, yeah, well, we usually stay up until about like 5 o'clock and stuff. I'm like, what? That's morning. That's early morning then.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
that's
get
crazy.
out of here. And I'm like, okay. So I didn't get to sleep until like 4 o'clock or whatever. It was like, yeah, it was like 4 o'clock. And then I was like, it was just like a nap. And I was like, woke up. I was like, oh, I'm dead. I'm a zombie. And I had to drive the 2.5 hours
Oh,
in zombie
gosh.
mode. At least my car drives itself a little bit, but still, that's still not safe, right?
No, it's not. For sure not safe.
Zombie me driving the. But
Like that is even less
anyways,
safe to have a car self-driving while you're not
right.
all the way there. But glad you made it back safely.
I am alive. I'm here. Right.
Yeah, wait. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Alonso?
Well, one thing I wanted to show off, I have a brand new diploma on the wall. Johns Hopkins University, my master's.
Let's go.
A big ass piece of paper. I had to get a big ass frame for it.
Mhm.
But I'm happy it's there on the wall. Completes the trifecta.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Master.
master. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
You didn't do the claps, man. Run those claps, man.
yeah. Give yourself a clap.
Yeah,
Yes,
man, what
you
the
deserve
heck?
it.
do I
Get
have
the
to?
Yes.
As it should be. As it should be.
Mm. And then this past week, it was the week I came back from Mississippi. So the previous week, I was down all the week in Mississippi, Vicksburg and Columbus, Mississippi, doing work. It was hot as hell. Like, hotter than hell even, you know? Like,
Gosh.
I
Like,
mean,
this is torture. This is
is
actual
torture,
torture.
when you combine triple digits with humidity, it's not a fun time. And then you have to work outside. We were working outside most of one of the days. Not fun. So I had to wear a sun hoodie. It protected me, but man, it gets hot. The sun beats down on you. I was singing slave songs, you know.
Oh my
It
god.
resonated with my ancestors,
Jesus.
you know. What's the
In
one?
Mississippi
Pharaoh, let
too,
my
at
people
that.
go.
Right.
Yeah.
Working in the field,
In
son.
Mississippi.
Damn.
Mhm. But nah, man, I'm glad I was back this week. Work was so. Unfortunately, we have to go back to Mississippi in 2 weeks, so I've been doing work to plan on that. I'm not happy about it, but what can you do? So,
Right.
yeah, that's what I'm doing at work. And luckily, I heard back from another opportunity. America keep a secret, but it's a good opportunity, and I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see how it goes. I got something planned coming up, something cooking, something in the oven, you know. So we'll see how that goes. But that's been my week.
Yeah, I mean, good news. Good news. I guess good news and bad news for you, at least. Which is we'll take it, I guess. Better than all bad news. But yeah, I don't know. For me, kind of pretty much same old, same old. I just I just I had to change a date I had set for an exam I had to do. Still have to do because my job told me that they couldn't fit it in, even though they told me like a month and a half ago they could, which I'm not gonna get on this, but what this does free up is it allows us to go to this anime convention. Well, allows me to go to the anime convention and allowed me to invite you guys to go to the anime convention. So I'm happy about that. And we will be asking questions at the anime convention. And I don't know if any of the people that ever watch this would happen to be at the anime convention, but I think it's Superstar Anime Convention, right? Superstar Anime Convention, and Virginia Beach, Virginia, and we're gonna go there, and try to have a good time, talk to some people, talk to some folks, ask some questions, interact with the peoples, and just take it all in, enjoy kind of a fellow anime culture. I think this is my first real anime convention, so I'm pretty excited about that. So something good came out of this annoyance for my job. Okay, go back. Just take those lemons, make some lemonade out of here. Make some lemon Kool Aid because we black. So plenty of sugar. No, and I mean, yeah. So I mean, I'm excited for it. It should be good. It should be good. It should be fun. I'm like I said, my first time going to like I watched some like other YouTubers and stuff like that. Go to these conventions is pretty cool. But it's my first time going to one myself. They've been to one. I think both of y'all. I know both of y'all have been to one. So y'all have a little bit more experience, seniority on this one. My senpais as far as
Yeah,
anime conventions
yeah.
go. But I'm looking forward to it, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm gonna have a good time. No matter what, I'm going to probably be very fanboyish at this thing and probably be way more excited than I should be. But but it should be good. It should be good.
Hey, yeah, I'm saying do it up, man. Like, I, I wish I did similarly for the time when we went. I mean, it was okay, and it was like there's definitely some times where I was like, oh man, yeah, I want to be in this group. I want to experience this thing with these people. But then there was definitely some times where it felt like, oh, I'm ignoring that side of me so that I can just chill, kind of thing. But yeah, it'd be good. It'd be good.
It'll be fun. But yeah, so that'll be good. Looking forward to it. But yeah, obviously going to conventions, we all love anime. This is well documented, I think. That we all like anime. But sometimes even in anime you like, there are people that are supposed to be at the center of this anime. You just can't like them. You just don't like what they bring to the anime. You don't like what they bring as far as their personality or what they do or just stuff they say. It's something about sometimes you don't even know what it is. It's just something about them, about certain characters that just irk you. And you're like, I don't like this. I don't like this character. You know. But we're focusing today on the main characters we really don't like in anime. And for me, I think I wanted to stick with ones anime that I actually liked. I actually liked these anime, but the main characters got on my nerves. like, like generally, you want the main characters to level up and last. Even in like fighting animes or action animes, you want to make sure they're there to the end, defying possible odds, all this stuff. And these animes, I would be like, you know what? If you decided this anime character just had, some sort of Itachi illness mid anime, you know, okay, I'm okay with that, man. I didn't really care for these characters, and I really could have done with some tweaks to them. But again, part of anime is to make it interesting, a little bit divisive, and make it unique. And this definitely made these unique for me. But I don't know. It's always weird for me talking about stuff I don't like about anime because I love anime so much. But it's also kind of fun to vent about it a little bit.
It's crazy because I did the exact same thing that you did. I chose some anime that I liked and that I found that some characters that I disliked in there. So I'm like, wow, that's surprising. I didn't think anyone was going to do that. And that's why I did it. And now it's like, wow. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's good. I mean, should we start?
Yeah, whenever. I mean, yeah. I mean, I
Well,
will just.
I
I
got
will.
one. Okay, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
just want to. I want to preface this by saying that again, like the we love anime, but I think sometimes I feel like part of this, for me at least, when I was kind of looking at what I really don't like about these characters, is they have traits of people I don't like, or I don't, or
Mhm.
traits of things I don't like in people. I'll say because not necessarily a specific person that comes to mind with these characters, but there's definitely traits I don't like in people, and I think I was like, oh yeah, I instantly don't like this person, this character.
Mhm.
Like I don't like your face, I don't like your voice, I don't like nothing about you, all because like so it definitely roots itself in reality a little bit for me. But then even some of it, I feel like I give them the benefit of the doubt, and they still let me down. You know,
Mm, mm,
but
mm.
I'm not gonna go on a tangent yet. Yet.
Man, I like yeah, I definitely agree with that. One of the themes that's kind of fairly consistent in this, at least a little bit on the list that I was coming up with was um characters that manipulate other characters. I don't know. That's one thing that I'm just like, I really don't like when, you know, all you're doing is controlling these people and making them do things for you. It's just, I don't know, unless you're putting something else in there. But it seems like there's some characters, and the first one I'm gonna do because I think it's generic and everyone will agree because the whole internet hated this person for a little bit. I go with Rachel from Tower of God.
You took one of mine. I knew it. Dang it, man.
Because
I got a whole rant for that.
Look, I'm gonna let you take most of it.
No,
But
no.
that's the thing is super manipulative, super useless as fuck, right? I'm like, like all she did was like, all right, you're gonna save me, you're gonna save me, you're gonna save me, manipulate all these people to do these things for her, and then when it came to truly collapsing on that friendship, it was just instant betrayal. So it's just like, okay, well, this is literally the worst person. I don't like. I don't know how to make a worse person than Rachel. So especially for like a supporting cast member, you know, like not directly the MC, but a supporting character being like this is I don't know. And maybe that was the point, you know, to have that in Tower of God is to show you kind of like, hey, we can take a supporting character and twist your thought on, oh no, she's dumb as fuck, or she's just gonna betray, you know. But yeah, please tell me what you think.
Before I get it, I want Alonzo to add whatever he thinks. I'm just gonna meditate on this.
I'm getting the boxing gloves out.
I actually had a feeling it was going to be a character from Tower of God for Roberts because he said he's like, man, I really don't like this character. I was like, maybe it's Tower of God because I know we didn't like Rachel. I was thinking about the one girl from Shield Hero, but I was pretty certain it was Tower of God. But yeah, Rachel, fuck that hoe. I mean, disrespectful as I don't know what. How do you portray your friend like that? He did everything for you. You know,
Yeah.
tricks be crazy. I don't know.
So, Rachel from Tower of God, and this builds into my next character too. So I'm gonna it'll be a minute. Selfish AF, obviously. She literally from basically episode 1, she creates the attachment. And Rachel, before I go to this, Rachel is considered a main character according to the pages on Tower of God. She's considered a main character. So Rachel and Bam are considered main characters.
Okay.
So she does consider
That's what you were talking about earlier. Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't actually going to do her, but that's why it goes into my other person. But anyway, so yes, she literally creates this attachment to Bam. From their initial encounter, she makes the attachment, right? So their initial encounter, she literally names him after they're playing together, enjoying their time together, spending time together in this kind of like, you know, whatever dark, creepy-ish place that they've met, whatever. They, you know, get to the point where they're really enjoying each other's company, enjoying each other's time, and like it's not like a romantic thing. Really, it doesn't really seem like that. But it's almost like a very like innocent, like childlike, super like powerful friendship. At least seem super powerful, strong friendship, you know. And again, she creates this attachment and kind of solidifies it by giving him this name, you know. And which obviously, if you name anything, that hints at attachment, right? Like that hints by itself that you are attached to this thing. Like, you know, so I'm like, okay, you know, whatever it is, even if you name your car or if you name your plant, whatever, you're attached to it if you name it. Most people would feel that way. So I'm like, okay, so she names him, right? Names him that I assume for most people means you have a strong affinity towards this person, thing, whatever. And again, if you give like a nickname to it, probably have more of an affinity to it. You know, again, so same sort of thing. So she proceeds, first strike with my issue with her. She proceeds to leave this man in this sketchy place by himself, because they had only really each other, really only had each other by himself, pieces out, no explanation really, just pieces out. And I'm like, okay, benefit of the doubt. Beginning of the show, I'm like, oh, maybe she really, had to leave because of, I don't know, way to get her parents back, or way to get his memories or something, or his parents, because he's kind of like an enigma sort of thing, right? So like maybe a way to help him, or maybe in a way that's like, okay, she really feels like she has to go here to not weigh him down, sort of thing. Like I don't want to burden you with my problems or my goals, sort of thing. I'm like, okay, maybe she's trying to be selfless by leaving. You know, I'm like, okay, give her that kind of benefit of the doubt, right? That's kind of my first thing, and we kind of don't really see much for the first, half of the show or so. I don't think maybe half the season or whatever. Um, and then when you finally he finally meets her, basically, she is hiding herself from him, which I'm like, so you left this man. He chased you into a tower of basically death, a tower of death, basically, and he finally finds you. And he doesn't necessarily know it's you. She's hidden, cloaked, all this good stuff, whatever. But you know it's him. You see him, right? And you still hide from him. Which again, strike two for me. Strike two. Like
Like she knows she's wrong. She's done
right,
something wrong, and that's why she
right,
hides. Right.
right,
Mm.
right. So I'm like, okay. Again, you see he's here though. It's at this point he's here. He can't. It's not like he can just go back and resume normal business, right? So he's here. He's already gone through several trials, life-threatening trials. Literally could have died a lot on the way here, basically just for you. Really, really not basically, just for you, only for you. No other reason, right? I'm like, okay. And so finally, reveals all this. She talks to him about the whole situation, whatever. And, okay, cool. It seems like they're reunited. Everything's okay again, right? Then, as you said, Robert, basically, you start to see throughout the show. For one, I guess before I get to what you said, you start to see hints that she's kind of getting jealous of main character
Mm-hmm.
Bam. Like, jealous of the dude. For one, you left him. For one. For two, this man doesn't even know what or who he is really. Secondly, like, and thirdly, again, if you're jealous of the guy you want no part of, so why are you even jealous? You don't want any part of this guy, right? Like, you distance yourself at every opportunity since naming him, which is weird as freak, and then you're jealous, and like it grows, and it grows and grows and grows into just this thing where she gets, again, before I get to that, even this whole time he's still dedicated to her. He's like, you get all that, I'm still here for you. I'm here for you, basically the whole time, right? And like you said, first opportunity to screw this man over for a potential boost in her chances, because mind you, she's nowhere near clearing the tower. They're far off clearing the tower, but still, for a small boost in her chance of clearing the tower, betrays the man instantly, basically leaves him for dead. Literally, well, leaves him for dead. Basically, that's the plan, is for him to die, right? And it's just like, I'm sorry, I'm selfish and ugly and terrible. I'm like, no, don't say sorry. Don't say sorry when you just did it blatantly multiple times. Screw this man over, right? And we're literally, even if you didn't do this, you're going to do something else in the near future anyway, because you're already so jealous of this guy, because apparently for him, he got so much given to him. He's so naturally talented. I can't do anything. You got all this stuff. I'm like, okay, mind you, the dude doesn't even want none of these powers or none of this stuff. He just wants you. He don't even give a freak about the power, right? And that is the craziest thing to me, is like, if she could have even went about this a way that would have been more just like manipulative, and just been like, okay, well, I'm just going to team up with him just so he can like help me to my goal. And he honestly would have been fine with that. He would have been fine with that, even if he told her that's why, right? But instead, she literally decides to do the worst thing possible and literally just completely stab him in the back, basically, and leave him for dead, right? And like, like, and I'm like, this craziest thing is the stuff she's jealous of. He only gets that power because he's chasing after you. After you. It's literally because of you and for you. Like, it's not even for him. He's not even cocky about it. He's not even like big headed about it. He's not rubbing it in your face. He only wants to have it to get to you and use it for you. Right. And that is the craziest thing to me, is like, and you think, okay, Again, spoiler alert. I'm sorry, I should have said that earlier. If you haven't watched Tower of God, super spoiler alert. But if you think again, uh, you think maybe she's doing all this for a very good reason. You know, very good reason. Someone in particular, something in particular that she can't get any other way. Revival of parents, or her village got wiped out. Something crazy, some crazy big anime thing that you just need, like a Shinron level Dragon Ball wish to to reverse things back to what they were. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's what it is. But you know what this bit goal is, and the reason why she is doing all this nonsense. Drum roll, please. Drum roll as to why. 4 stars to see stars.
Oh, yeah.
To see stars. She's doing all this to this man, killing this man and ruining his life because she wants to see stars. I lost my mind. That is the worst reason I've ever heard to do something bad to someone, like, even if you don't know them. Like, that's not even you're risking your life for one to see stars. Like, if I was Ben, I'm like, oh, you want to see stars? Bah! I was like, that's what you should have did. Like, man. But that is, and before I get on, I'm just sorry, this rant that I was in. But again, that stars, man, stars. Anyway, but but even before I was picking her as a character, my issue was also with Bam, and I'm not going to go too far into this, but because Bam is warned about this from several characters on his way up the tower, before he even meets her, and even I think when she's like, I think another character, the blue haired guy, kind of figures out that's her before, and is kind of trying to edge him away from that. Like, don't do that, And other characters kind of telling him, like, it's probably not a good idea to just chase this girl in the tower. She probably left, because she kind of is a crappy person, and you might not find a reality that you like. Is kind of what people are telling him, throughout, and they're kind of trying to say, basically, tower can change people and all this sort of stuff, and people kind of warning him, right? Like, foreshadowing, like, she may not be the person you think she is, and it may not be a great idea, right? But, and again, there's plenty of also clear red flags even after they meet. And it's like he ignores all those, basically he becomes the ultimate simp. Like, and if there was ever a PSA needed for simping to not be healthy, this was it. This was the PSA. And trust me, I'm in medicine. It's not healthy. It's not good for your health. Don't simp to this level. This is ridiculous, man. But man, like, he's definitely not without blame, because he gets so many opportunities to kind of pull back and do things differently, and he ignores all of them, and ignores all the advice, and he does it anyway. And again, part of that is his naivety and kind of like the way he was kind of, I guess, born, created. I don't know, his whole backstory is still kind of a weird thing, but he was always naive to begin with, So it's hard for him to kind of learn those sorts of things. Obviously, he had no parents, nothing like that, to teach him these sorts of things anyway. At least not that we know of. We don't know all that detail of his backstory right now, I don't think. But I still would give him some blame as well, because again, you had options, you had other people advising you against these things, you had other people that were already in your corner. You already had good people in your corner, right? And you still kind of ignored all these red flags and did it anyway. So Bam is not without fault, but for sure, Rachel is the worst. in rant.
Yeah, and back to, similar to what I was saying, like, if you want to create like the worst person, make them super manipulative, make them also, like, for some reason have this jealousy for your happiness, and then for some reason just want to ruin that, and it's also was unwarranted. It did not need to happen. She did not have to betray him at that point,
Right?
because obviously she needs help to get to the final part of the tower. So it's just like, you should probably just use all the people you have on your side. But for some reason, she's fucking stupid. Like,
Right.
I don't know. And I was like, okay, man, wow. This of all times, I get that only one person can make this, wish at the end, but right now is when you should be, eliminating people from your side. Okay,
Right. And again,
wildly stupid.
would he not give her that wish?
Yes.
He's gonna give her the wish anyway.
What do I have to do to give it to you? Yeah, all right. It's like, yeah, exactly.
Like,
Man.
oh my fudging goodness, man! It's so I can't stand her.
And I had the same thing where I was having trouble separating Rachel and Bam, and I was like, man, but I just it leaned more towards Rachel, so I was just like, I gotta give it to her, but like, yeah, similar there.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, Bam is not without fault. But it's that typical thing they do with MCs where they make them like kind of what they did with like Goku. Like they make him so naive to like the world that they can kind of easily be manipulated, sort of thing. Like they're just so naive. And I think there's people like that are just super super nice, and kind of sheltered, and like they kind of can get manipulated even, and you hope opposite doesn't happen to them, But I think that's kind of like a common trope in anime, and a lot of times they don't have them get manipulated. They just have them do like weird stuff. Like Goku is just like really weird with like social boundaries and stuff, and all that sort of stuff. But it wasn't like he don't actually kind of trick Goku and do anything really crazy. So, but I don't know. Yeah, so I still think he definitely has a level of ownership, especially because I think by that point he had kind of climbed the tower some, and he had kind of seen kind of how people are at that point. Like he'd had enough of an introduction to, for one, this is life and death. He knew that well enough by now. But then also that people that are climbing the tower, most of them are climbing it for very very selfish reasons, and they're which is totally fine. I mean, there's no other reason to climb it, honestly, unless you have a really good selfish reason, for the most part. So unless you're just gonna be a philanthropist and you just really want to save the world from the tower or whatever, but it's like, yeah. So I mean, yeah. So he definitely gets some blame. But I could have gone a little deeper on that, but I'm going to leave it at that. But definitely still has some shared blame. But man, she is terrible.
What about you, Alonso? I want to hear your first.
I don't have a rant to that level that Matt had,
right.
and the insight you had, Robert. But the character I wanted to talk about is from an anime called Kaiji Ultimate Survivor. I was going to do an anime I didn't like, but I was like, let me do an anime that I found decent enough and a character I didn't like. And in Kaiji, none of the characters are likable. Let me just say that. Let me just start that off. But Kaiji is sort of like Squid Game before Squid Game. And I haven't seen Squid Game, but if you have, it's about characters trying to clear their debts. They have massive debt. They're trying to clear their debts by wagering their lives in games for the amusement of the rich. So if they win, they get massive sums of money. They can clear their debt and go about their lives. In Kaiji, it's sort of the same thing. So the main character's name is Kaiji Ito. He's basically a bum. He has no prospects for his future. He has no money. And he made the mistake of co-signing on one of his co-workers' loans. So when that co-worker goes missing, he's the guy that has to take on responsibility for that loan. So when loan sharks come a knocking, he's like, oh shit, what do I do? And the loan sharks give him an option. They're either fuck him up or he can wager his time on a ship. That's the first arc, on a ship doing some gambling. And so he goes aboard and he tries to make some money. But you think it's going to be a simple gambling show, but it's not. It turns to a game of strategy and betrayal. And the second arc is it's at a hotel where people are actually wagering their lives now. So it ramps up in its intensity, and what you're wagering, what you're looking for to get the money. It's intense, and Kaiji is just a guy who doesn't know when to quit. Basically, like he wins sometimes, and he's like, I gotta keep going. I gotta get that rush. I gotta get that high again. And he loses. He loses big time. He loses lots of money, goes deeper into debt, and he's just like, well, now I have to wager my life. Now I have to do even bigger debts or even bigger bets to get out of this debt. So he's just stuck in a cycle of doing these vices like gambling, and it's just bum energy, if I can call it that. Like, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you risk your life because you're stupid at managing your money, essentially? So, at the end of the second arc with the hotel, he makes a friend. He makes a friend. Um, I forget his name, but essentially, the guy died saving, trying to help out Kaiji, and Kaiji was like, "Damn, I got to do this for him now," because the guy also gave him his coupon, and the coupon is like, if you make it to the next event, if you win, it pays out in some sum of money. So he has that. So Kaiji eventually wins, but it turns out that the main guy behind the event kind of betrayed him, so he doesn't get his money. So he now goes on I guess, revenge arc next on the main guys, the evil guys. He's like, I'm going to win this money for my friend. So he says he's going to win the money, split half of it with the friend's family, go on from there. Well, spoiler alert, he goes on to win. After he finds out the main guys are cheating, he devises a plan to get past their cheating and win some money. But then he's like, you know what? I'm going to take it a step further. He's going to let it ride, just like a dumbass. He goes back to bed. He gets cheated again, and then they cut off his ear, they cut off his fingers, and the show ends. The first season ends with him getting nothing. Nothing to show for the friend's family, nothing to show for him. He just lost some fingers and an ear. And I'm just like, you are the dumbest man alive. You had good shit. You could have helped the man's family. You had money to pay off some of your debt. And no, you were like, oh man, I got to get this high again. I know I can beat him. I know I can do it. And you failed. You fucked up. Congratulations. You played yourself. But man, I could not stand this guy. And apparently the second season, he's even worse. He just I didn't watch the second season, but he's just like, I gotta get that high again. I gotta keep gambling. He's in more and more worse debt. He's working in the mine now, apparently trying to work off his debt. So it's just terribleness. It's just the hubris of man, if I can say that. He just wants to do too much with himself, and he can't do it all. And gambling is a terrible vice. It's a terrible addiction for him, and I just don't like it. Fuck that guy. That's all I gotta say.
I mean, that is crazy that that being the main character, because I've seen clips of this thing. I've seen specifically clips of like that last part of the first season when he's getting his fingers chopped off. But like, yeah, I'm like, that is so weird for that to be, a main character who cannot stop, the cycle. But that is also one of the themes. Similarly, like one of the themes that I was going through is like people that don't care about their life. You know what I mean? Like I was like, man, it seems like there's all these people and they'll do the dumbest thing. Like there's recently there's been parts on Jobless Reincarnation where like the main character goes on that kind of bullshit for some reason, and he's just like, I kind of give up, and it's just like, no, why are you doing that? It's like no real good reason other than this is my character flaw. I don't care. It's like, okay, but Yeah, so that is definitely very weird. Oh, and like Kakiguri was another one that I was
Mhm.
thinking of when, similar in that nature, where
Yeah.
she's like, oh no, but I want to really play. I want to be, you're tricking people. You're not really playing with your life. I want to really play with my life. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like that's not what we want here. And yeah, so crazy, crazy, crazy. I I have never seen it, and thank you for telling me, because
Right.
now I'm not gonna watch it.
Right. This just reminds me when we went to the casino. The one time we went, and it was just like looking at old people like waste their life
Yeah,
savings on it. I'm like, that looks depressing, don't
three
it?
slot machines.
Please hit. Like, yeah, like no, freak that, dude. What the freak? I'm too cheap to gamble. Anyway, that's the main point. Like, I ain't got no luck, so I ain't about to be betting.
Mm,
I ain't never won no game, no team. Well, no, I don't say none, but I've rarely, maybe what's it, maybe like 1 in 1,000. I win a game of chance. That's a real game of chance, right? Like a lottery
mm.
or something like that, right? I'm not doing that. But yeah, last thing I need to do is watch that in anime form. Just be depressed for this guy.
I also think about like people who aren't true to their word too. Like that's also another big, big flaw in characters when it's just like, okay, I said I'm going to do this thing, and then they don't do it, or or they don't focus on that aspect, and it just fucks them in the end. And I'm like, okay, well, now I hate you. Now I hate you. I'm sorry. You know, um,
It's like you're
you
pitch
know,
picking on people right now. I feel like you got some people in mind right now. Like this.
yeah. No, I mean I'm also turning this into like a way of thinking about like real world people too. Like it's
Yeah.
like yeah, people who like that's one of my like pet peeves, I guess you would call it. It's like yeah, if you say you're gonna do something, then just do it. I mean, like, is there any problem for that? It's like I don't know. It just seems like there's so many people that'll just you know, they'll just be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'll help you out with that thing," and then they don't. It's like just be upfront, be truthful about what you're going to do, and
Right.
then it's like, all right, then this hatred will not come for you. But but I'm just saying, there's
Yeah. I mean,
anyways.
I feel that. I think, yeah. I don't know. I think one of my, like I said, both my people definitely have things I don't like, traits I don't like in people in general. Like
Mm,
obviously, when I get back on Rachel, but
mm,
but I mean, yeah, obviously, I think people that are just super selfish to a fault is an
mm,
issue. Like a level of selfishness is needed in life. Like, but you know, to the point where you're just sacrifice everything and anything you know, to achieve this goal, no matter what that is that I'm
mm.
sacrificing is crazy. It's crazy. Like that's sociopathic behavior. That's psychopathic behavior. Like like that's not normal.
You know what?
And I
That's good. That actually brings me to my second character.
okay, good.
And it is um let me see if I can say Ayano Koji
I am a Koji.
from
Yeah,
Clash from the Elite.
that's really yeah.
And it is day one.
Uh,
The very first episode, the very first thing, right? I did not like this guy, and I was like, why don't I like this guy?
that's
Is something wrong with me? Like am I not I'm not understanding where the anime is going. And then like more things kept happening, and it's just like, oh, it seemed like I get that he's supposed to be this like no emotion guy. Like that's what he's supposed to be, But then he'll go into these modes where then he'll show a little emotion or like for some reason. But it to me it still seemed fake. Like I was like 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 no, it's like why would he show emotion at this particular time? It just doesn't make sense. Like like he basically like the whole beginning of the thing, they're taking exams or whatever, and it's just like okay, well, just do what you can or whatever. And he's just like, I ain't worried about it, whatever. And then like it goes in a mode where like she's like, oh well, can you help me? Like some girl comes up to him like, can you help me study and all this stuff? And he's like, you know what, for you, yes I can. And he's like, and it brings her and like has these one-on-one things with her, develops like almost this like forcibly develops this relationship thing. And this goes back to Rachel from Tower of God thing, right? Too, but like forces this relationship, and then I'm like, okay, this is obviously fake. I can see that none of it makes sense anymore. And then something happens where like um the girl ends up getting him like intelligence on some of these other people in the school, and he's like because she likes me, that's why she does that thing. And then like again it keeps like every episode is just like another thing that I'm like, he's manipulating these people and they don't even realize it. And then it gets to the end of the episode, end of the first season, spoiler alert, it's like, yes, I've been manipulating all these people, and I hate everyone in this school, and I'm better than everyone. And I'm like, yes, I knew I hated this guy, and I knew he was an awful person. I knew it. This whole time, this man has been lying to everyone, manipulating everyone, fucking treating like putting everyone in these situations that are like obviously awful. Like one girl almost gets like raped, and he like sets up the whole situation, like tells the guy where she's going to be, like, and sets it up so she is in that place at that time, just so he can get a recording of her, so that he can kind of like blackmail her and all this stuff, and the guy too. And it's just like, really, like, and that's okay, worst kind of guy, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh my god. And I was like, man, I knew I hated him. And okay, and then here's back to the point that we said, that we prefaced this with. The anime is so good. And that's the problem. It's just like, it's like he's like, you end up rooting against him the whole time. Like I am rooting against him the whole time, but then I still want to see how he manipulates, how he gets everybody to do these things, but
As good as fruit.
it's like, yeah, and that's why I say that one for last, because I was like, it's one of the most liked, and like on each tier, right? It's like on one hand, I like this one a lot, like especially the second season was like so good to me, and then like on the other hand, I hate the main character the most out of all the characters because he's fucking a piece of shit. Obviously,
Vindicated.
I mean, he has like other family problems, but like, what amount of family problems can allow you to do some of the shit that he does? I'm like, no.
Fair.
So yeah.
I mean, in his defense, everyone in those classes is kind of trying to get one up on each other. Not to his extent. Not to his extent, but I don't know if they were smart enough to think of it, if they wouldn't do it.
There's a lot of shitty people in that classroom, right. I will say.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
But him being the main character, but also,
true.
just sets that above and beyond. And it seemed like at first he was going to be the opposite. Like,
right,
that's what he was trying to make you seem like. He's like, I'm doing all these helpful things for all these people because, I'm a different guy. And it's just like, right. No. I'm a piece of shit too. I'm in the classroom with Elite for this reason.
Right. He does try to come off as super, super chill. Like always. Yeah, I'm so chill. I'm so chill.
Mate.
I'm
gonna try. Maybe I'll try today.
All right. He's like, you studying? I can study. I can study. I'm like, this guy's really cool. And yeah, like, you're right. The vindication I'm sure you felt at the end of the first season. But I mean, it is a very very good anime though. But
Yeah.
yeah, I had a feeling you were gonna say that one though because you
Yeah, I told you every time I was watching that show, I was like, I hate this guy. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Mm, mm, mm. But
I'm
yeah, I mean,
surprised y'all think it's a good show. I could only make it through 3 episodes of season 1 before I quit. But that's just me.
wow.
To
Yeah,
each
you
their
probably
own.
felt that shit too, didn't you? You probably felt how shitty he was. It's like, all right, I'm done.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. Everyone different strokes for different folks. You know, it's like everyone has their own preference when it comes to anime. I don't know why I just say strokes. Gosh dang it. Anyway, everyone has their own different taste when it comes to anime. So, thousands of anime, thousands of different kinds of people watching it. Hundreds of thousands, probably more, millions, probably. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it goes back again. I would not like him as a person if I ever met him. If it was real life, for sure. But for a story's sake, is does help the story become very interesting.
Right. And that's the thing. It keeps you watching. Definitely
It
does.
does. I don't know though, but I don't know any more for you, Alonzo. And is there another one? Is this one another one you like, or is it just someone you just don't like it?
Someone I just don't like, anime I don't like, is this guy named Hajime from a show called Ari Ferretta. And I've told you guys how I
Okay.
felt about Ari Ferretta.
Yeah.
I do not like that show. I do not like the main character. I do not like green eggs and ham, Sam. But yeah, the main premise of the show is that this whole classroom gets transported to another world, and they're destined to be heroes to clear out a dungeon for the kingdom. And so they're in this dungeon. They're on a certain floor. They get attacked by a strong monster that's not supposed to be there. Yada yada yada. Hajime gets separated from the group, and somebody betrays him, and he gets attacked from behind. He falls down deeper into the dungeon. So I thought it was going to be a good show based on the premise. Like, okay, this guy's have to come up, gonna get out the dungeon. He's gonna become strong. He's gonna return to his classmates, find out who did what who did him in, and we'll finish the show off, and that'll be it. And it'll be a nice tight story. But what I got was an edge lord of a man named Hajime who gets a harem, who kills people for no reason. Well, I mean, I don't know. He just ruthlessly kills people.
Yeah,
he has guns. He has vehicles. He has like terribly CGI vehicles because he created with his power of alchemy, which I feel like that's just an ash pool. But I mean, what can you do? It's anime. You gotta live with the ass pulls and the stretches and all that stuff. But I just didn't like the guy. He came off as arrogant. He came off as an edgelord, standoffish. I'm like, man, even I in middle school was standoffish, but even I could hold a conversation, could come to people and be nice to them. If people were talking behind my back, I was like, you know what? Let me turn the other cheek. That's what Jesus would say, right? And I don't even follow the teachings of Jesus. I'm a terrible person, but still, this Hajime guy, fuck him. Fuck him all up.
As Jesus would say.
I'll do this on Sunday.
Fuck him.
But no, he was just, I don't know, just the worst kind of person to me. And I just did not like his story. I did not like the way he got a harem. He got women all on his dick. Like, I was just like, all right, okay, you're suspending my disbelief now. I don't know. I can't follow this story anymore. And yeah, he was just not a character I would root for in any situation, in any show. Um, I don't know. I gave that show like a 2 or a 1. I watched the first whole season, and I wish I had my time back. You know, it's time I'll never get back. Time wasted on that show. Not to say like the premise was interesting. Like that's why I watched it in the first place. But character elements of the show were not good, and that made me hate the character even more.
Yeah, I think some characters, also some people in real life, just give you the ick. You know, just ain't right. And yeah, I I understand that. I have not watched it because of your consistent reviews. So I'm like, yeah, I don't want none of that. Also, Wally character, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
pass.
yeah. Not my favorite. And that it's
Yeah.
also weird. That's like his main girl too. I'm like, anyway. But I digress. But I will say, in defense of Alfreda, I feel like if it wasn't so CGI'd out, it would be a lot better. For one, um, but well, at least the first season, I think, for me, because excuse me, I feel like a lot of the story itself was just like really, it was a little bit different than kind of the typical stuff because instead of like, kind of like it's kind of Shield Hero esque in that instead of letting stuff just roll off your back and people do them so wrong, he's like, no, 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 hold up, you did me super dirty. I'm gonna get you back for this one. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm like that's a natural reaction. For one, you got taken to another world, then abandoned. Yeah, I'd be a little edgy. Yeah, I think I'd be a little edgy, And in the end, he does save his classmates. Some of them, he has altercations with. But I mean, he does end up saving his classmates. He does end up doing kind of nicer things. The harem thing, I guess, yeah, it's a weird harem in the first place, to be honest, and it almost doesn't feel that necessary, But anyway, I digress. It's anime still, but I do feel like it's not as bad as a lot of people trying to make it out to be. At least the first season. First season, I thought was like I said, from at least a plot standpoint, it was pretty okay. Like it was, well, again, not no 9 or 10 or anything like that, or even 8, but like I think it's like a solid 6.5, 7. But I think it's just mainly that, yeah. I mean, I think he had a reason to be the way he was, and I think that's why I'm more okay with his character. Is at least he had a reason. He was actually brought to another freaking dimension, basically, dimension world, whatever you want to call it, and then kind of abandoned because it was like, oh, this thought of him not being good enough, or whatever. And it's like, okay, but at the same time, and again, like, you know, I guess it was the one classmate out of all of them that was like, the one girl, the healer girl, that actually was like helpful to him and like also wanted to kind of help him be stronger, help, support him and help him get through, and wanted to go back and kind of find him when he got lost or whatever and left there. But again, like he kind of got treated really badly, like by a lot of like everyone pretty much since he went to this world. Which again, he didn't want to go to the world. He wanted to just stay where he was at in his normal life as a student, right? And he got dragged into this. So it's like I don't know. I do feel he has a little more reason to be a little edgier, a little more of not as great of character because of the situation he got randomly put in, and then made the situation even worse. Then he got isolated in a place where he's fighting for his life constantly, like the whole first season. Not the whole first season, like for like a good couple episodes of the first season. But again, animation for sure not great. But as far as the character himself, like yeah, I thought at least he had more of a reason, and there wasn't just like this. Oh, from the beginning, I'm just gonna be nonsensically edgy. But again, like yeah, the powers and stuff are a little cheap by the end of it. Obviously by the end of like the first season, and definitely kind of weird that he's like using guns in like a magical, mystical magical world, and like RVs and Hummers and ish. Like that is definitely off the walls. But I thought, overall, the point of it, I was like, okay, I can kind of see why he's like that. But I do also see why people don't like it, for sure. I can see why you don't like the anime. I can see why you don't like him as a character. But definitely more justified than I think the other people we've talked about in their behavior. Um, but yeah.
All right. I have some honorable mentions. You want to
Oh
hear
wait,
them?
wait. Let me say my last one.
Oh, okay, okay.
My last one. Um, and we, and again, I'm not picking. I don't want to keep doing this double thing. I'm not picking. Also not picking on women, but this second one is a female lead from. I guess technically it's the shoujo anime, so it's of course gonna be a female lead. But again, I watched all anime, all kinds of anime, and the anime is called Maid Sama. Kind of old anime. I think it's early 2000s anime, pretty old. But anyway, the premise
It was on
is,
Netflix for a little bit.
was it?
I
Okay.
watched it. Ah.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. But premise, yeah, it was dubbed too, yeah, fully dubbed. But yeah, premise of it basically, the girl is, I think, technically student council president. She also secretly works in the maid cafe. Super popular dude, also from the school, finds her, finds out that she works there, which is like, obviously you work at a maid cafe and you're also the council president of your school, so it's bound to find out. But anyway, act like it's a huge secret and surprise. So supposed to keep this secret, and it's like a romance comedy thing between those two. Um, and yeah, that's kind of how it goes. They go through different situations where they kind of get closer and then a little further, closer, further, whatever. So basically, that's the gist of it. But my issue, the main character, her name is Misaki Aizawa, and she is, I mean, she's definitely a tsundere, but she is like the most annoying tsundere I've ever seen in an anime. And I already don't like tsundere. I don't love tsundere as a trope because I think it is very. I think, for one, you know, why, that's like an elementary school thing. Like, oh, I'm gonna punch up and not like someone. Do be mean to someone I don't like. It's very elementary school thing to do, like first crush in elementary school or something. You should be doing that in like high school, college, as an adult or something like that. Get it together. Get it together. First off, But secondly, the secondary main character, who I also have a problem with, Usui, is the main male character in the show, but the female lead, Misaka, is the main character. I also have a problem with, because Usui is basically prototypical Bishojo, male lead, where he's super perfect, blonde hair, tall, athletic, everything great about him, and from a wealthy family. He's perfect, basically. He's perfect. But she still doesn't like him, right? She still wants no part of this guy. And her tsundere behavior, beats up on this guy, all this stuff, verbally lashes at him, goes in on this guy. Abuses the freak out of this man, honestly. to be totally honest, abuses the freak out of this guy. And he is nothing but nice the entire time. Like, goes out of his way very consistently to help her, and also is like the main person she calls on when she actually needs help, which is a very weird thing to do to someone that you are tearing apart a new one every day. But again, that's how they chose to express their love in this anime. But I just hated that. I hated both sides of it, because it came to a point where she's pushing away this guy that is doing everything for her, everything he can do to support her, be nice to her, help her when she needs help. Um, but he's also, again, kind of the same thing with Bam, like not taking the hint, like just leave her alone, just leave her alone. Because at a point he's just becoming a stalker. Like, now you're being a stalker, dude. It's just weird. It's just weird now. You need to leave this girl alone. Like, and I hated both sides of that, because I'm like, okay, this girl is being super mean, this one's being super nice to her, which I hate. I hate people that are like that. I hate people that are just mean to nice people in general, and mean to people for no reason in general. And I think she takes that to another level with the levels of how bad she is to this guy. And then also still calling on him and like wanting to get his help and wanting to hear from him, see from him, even though she's doing all these terrible things and mean things to him and raising her voice and like going off on him and beating up on him and all this stuff too. And it's like, okay, you can't have it both ways. You can't beat up on the guy and then also want to be close to you. It's like, okay, that's literally the worst thing, the most
Mm.
mixed of signals, you know. And then, but from his point of view, I'm like, okay, at a point, you also have to like show some backbone, show some character, say something or do something differently. And like, that's kind of my issue with him as a character, is like, and I guess it's like a character flaw thing that they probably plan to make him, is that he's so perfect. He is not. He doesn't have character. Like he doesn't have emotion really. He doesn't get like too frazzled or up or down about it. He doesn't like really show like he's hurt by these things. He doesn't really like show that he's like bothered by them or that he's like or anything. Like he doesn't really show much of anything really. Outside of this affinity he has for her or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but like again, I think that if she had shown another emotion besides anger and or just literally anger and I don't know what you would call this touchy feelingness he wants occasionally, and then he would show something besides this like weirdly perfect side of himself, it would have been a much better anime if they had broken down those walls a little better. But they just like didn't really do that, and it was good, it was enjoyable, but it was like it just became a whole lot of blah because of that, and it's like I just hate it because I feel like that I don't know. It almost sets like again, it goes back to things I don't like in life, like people being mean to people that are nice to them, and then also like these unrealistic expectations of like, does a girl really want a guy to keep chasing them after you've rejected me like 8 times? And it's like, well, sometimes they do. It's like is the answer, and then but then of course a lot of times it's like, well, nowadays especially you don't want to seem like you're a creep or like you're being a stalker or like you're doing too much or all this any sort of stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, I'm back off. And it's like, well, why'd you back off? You must not have liked me that much. I'm like, well, what? It's like, so I think this is like personified all that confusion that guys normally feel, and when they're dealing with like a lot of different certain women of like, am I going too close? Am I doing too much, or am I doing too little? And like trying to find that balance. And like I feel like this anime had the opportunity to address that with these two characters, and neither character addressed that balance. They just remained the most flawed portion, parts of the issues in relationships. Like, and I'm just like, okay, that's cool, but you guys really just did not make this realistic at all with these interactions, and that just annoyed me. It always just annoyed me as an anime because it was one of the first times I was like trying to give like shoujo anime a chance, and it was like, what is this? Like what is this? Like nothing really of substance happened, and then you don't even get tangible like real not always experience but tangible real sort of interaction between the characters, and it was like it more just annoyed you than anything the way she was treating the dude at a point. It's like, man, this guy is doing everything for you and you still don't appreciate it. That's kind of sad. But yeah,
Was there more than one season of that?
I don't remember. I definitely watched only
I thought
one.
there was. And yeah, and that was the thing that I was like, oh, okay, this is tough, this is cool, and I watch it, and then like nothing happens, and I'm like, okay, well, okay. And like I'm saying, no personality, like he's saying, no personality change at all,
Right.
no development. It's just watch the first episode, watch the last episode, that's the show. And I'm like, that's not good. That's not good. I hate that. But I mean, it's a little bit older anime, but still. Um, and then yeah, then you watch the second season. I'm like, all right, this is when they're gonna do the thing. Like, yeah, I mean, there's moments where it hints at like she's feeling something different, but like that's it. And then it goes back into like, no, but I can't show these emotions. And I'm like, okay, wow, this seems pointless. But yeah, fucking, yeah, weird. What? and there's a lot of shows that do that, especially harems. I will say is the type that will love to do that shit to like make the main character oblivious as hell, make all the side characters not change ever, and then it's just like, hey, this is okay, right? We'll point at these, obviously these developments that have happened in your relationship, but not mean anything to anyone because that's how the show is going to work as a harem. And I'm like, I hate that shit. And that's why I can't watch them, because I was just sitting here frustrated. Like, okay, no one's gonna develop, but everyone's gonna pretend like this thing didn't happen. Like, we didn't just survive this apocalyptic event, and we're not gonna talk about it because that would develop our relationship. It's like fucking weird, fucking
Right.
weird.
Right. And I think the main, I guess one of the big things I issued with the show too was just like you said, there is no development. Like, and like I don't know, like I said, I like to see the I don't know, a little bit of realism. I feel like you almost have to have some sort of development when you know someone for that long. And I'm like, why would they get together? Why would that happen, right? And of course they force it to happen, right? They have some random thing happen where it forces it to happen, but it's like there's not a good reason. And then, like I said, I hate to be a guy who's shoujo manga is or shoujo anime is a-ish, but that's kind of what that gave me, which is again still not true, definitely not true. It's like, but I don't want to even have that as a thought. But my big thing is also that it was rated an 8 on my anime list, and I'm like, how? Like, how is this an 8? I'm like, do you people like nothing? Like, you like nothing to happen? Like, the same person, like you said, like that's the best thing. Best way to describe it is like, yeah, you can watch the first and last episode. That'd be enough. And that is how that felt. And I don't. I guess this is more of a knock to any anime that's like that. But yeah, like
Yeah.
So,
Here, I have some. I'll go to them quickly. Honorable mentions though.
yeah.
One, from Mirai Nikki, the girl with the pink hair.
Yeah.
She was batshit crazy. That's it. Period. Done.
Fair.
Two, wanted to go the simp that I think, but this is also like one of the like decisions that is wrong. Subaru from ReZero. That's what I was like. I was like, again, simp. Also, the wrong pick. Very. And then I wanted to Crybabies. I do not like Crybabies. Which we call it? I say Haru from the Cell World. It's what I talk about you all the time.
I don't know,
but
why
also,
you hate that guy so
but
much.
also Midoriya is similar in that nature. Where
Right.
he's crying all the time. And then dumb people again, like Finna, the pirate princess. We talked about this before. I'm not gonna bring it up again, but
I wish I thought about that one.
but I was like, Finna? I was like, oh my god. Every single problem that happened in that anime was because she made some dumb decision. And it was
Right.
just like, oh, it's okay. I'm gonna jump on this boat with all these crazy people on it. And I got kidnapped.
Save
like,
me!
Oh my fucking god, you're just so stupid.
Right?
Get it together. But yeah. Anyways, we don't have a lot of time.
Rated pretty highly. But yeah.
So I was like, as long as you get a quick extra time this time.
I do not. Are we going into it? Are we going into it?
Yeah, might as well.
Extra time. All right. Well, the NFL is back with the lame as hell preseason, but it's back nonetheless, and all teams are in action this weekend. The preseason officially kicked off last week with the Hall of Fame game between the Jets and the Browns. And the highlight of that weekend was the induction of the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2023. There were 9 people inducted, but the biggest star had to be Darrelle Revis, otherwise known as Revis Island. He was a defensive back known for going up against the rival team's best receiver and shutting them down with no help. Like he just shut them down. They had no stats whatsoever. They were missing. You put up warning posters. You couldn't find them. That's how good he was. He was inducted as the first ballot Hall of Famer. That's one of the best distinctions. Speaking of the Hall of Fame, the Basketball Hall of Fame also inducted 11 members and recognized the 1976 U.S. Women's Basketball Olympics team. Players of note to enter the Hall were 3-time champ Dwayne Wade, 2-time champ Paul Gasol, and 1-time champ Dirk Nowitzki. So congratulations to everybody that was inducted to the Hall of Fame for both the NFL and NBA. They did great work over their careers. Going into some soccer news, the U.S. women's national soccer team lost to Sweden on penalty kicks in the Women's World Cup. The U.S. women usually dominate, but this time they were eliminated in the round of 16. That's the earliest the 2-time reigning champs have been out of the tournament. Go woke, go broke. That's what the MAGA folks would say, but no, they just lost to a better team. And it was on penalty kicks. Like, what can you do?
True.
This weekend, the You Big Dummy Award goes to a NASCAR driver named Noah Gragson. So, I like NASCAR, but this dude liked the plain, stupid, and racist post on Instagram about the death of George Floyd. It wasn't even dark humor. It was just a plain stupid racist meme. Because of that, he lost his ride, and he's been suspended indefinitely. He still isn't as bad as a NASCAR driver named Kyle Larson who said the N word with a hard R back in 2020 for literally no reason. Like, if you watch the clip of it, it's literally he just says it for no reason at all. So fuck both them guys. I know some of you will say, "Oh, it's Instagram, and he only liked to post. What's so bad about that?" Well, I say to you that you're an enabler and don't understand how big of an idea is spread in this social media age. So,
Right.
you go on 4chan, you see a lot of stuff. It gets washed out into Instagram and Reddit and all these social media apps, and people like them, and you see who they truly are. So, again, fuck both them guys. Fuck Ron DeSantis, like I always say. I don't know why he's catching a stray, but he is. And may all bad things happen to them. But lastly, Simone Biles returning to gymnastics competition after a 2-year layoff following the Tokyo Olympics. She won overall at the U.S. Classic, and it may be a tune-up for her return to the Olympics next year in Paris. Uh, as you may know, in Tokyo, she has something called twisties. That's like a mental block that a gymnast has, and they're not able to tell while they're in the air during a twisting skill what they're actually doing. So she described it as not being able to tell up from down or how to twist, and it's sort of like a performance anxiety issue. So I wanted to ask you guys: have you all ever felt like that? Just not being able to do something you've done many times before, or maybe just had a fear of something of messing something up and not being able to go through with it. I know I get performance anxiety when I have to present something at work. I could practice them for a million years in a hyperbolic time chamber, know literally everything about everything, and come out and still stumble over my words like I am now and draw blanks when people are asking me questions. But what's y'all's experience for performance anxiety?
yeah. I mean, I think definitely. Like I remember back as early as like when I was playing in the orchestra and stuff like that, and that was one thing that really got me is yeah, I would practice with people for so long and it'd be so good, and then soon as like my teacher would sit me down and be like, no, just you play, and then I couldn't play, never. I was like, that's so weird,
Mm.
and I hated the sound of like when I would make I played cello, when I make the cello make music, it would sound wrong to me only when I was playing by myself. And but whatever. And yeah, and I think even now, like when I'm like you said, like during presentations and stuff, and getting a little choked up about stuff that I know, right? So it's just it's the way of it, I guess. Like you got to get through those. But yeah, I definitely have felt the same stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to play soccer, man, there used to be guys we call like practice warriors, or like they'd be so good in practice, so good in practice, and they couldn't do it in the game. And I think that was just like performing because we had a guy. I mean, my God, he looked just so good in practice every game. We're like, oh, this guy's gonna destroy these guys. And then in the game, we just couldn't do any of it. It was like, why are you moving so slowly now? Like, it's just crazy. And I think like for me, I definitely had moments where like I would be like that. Like I would just think too much. I really don't want to make this mistake, so I'd be doing stuff wrong during games, and it's like for sure I'd felt that. And then I would get super nervous before certain games, and I would have to take a pregame dump every time, dude. Every time. I'd be good after though. I'd be good after, but
I'm
every
light,
right,
lighter on
yeah.
my feet.
Let's go. My shoulders got loose. No, but yeah, with soccer for sure. And then I think with like studying, like when I have like big exams, like during the exams, I'm usually not that bad really. But like in studying for exams, like I get so like overwhelmed sometimes with like the amount of information to cover because some of the exams we take are like 8+ hour exams. So they're very, very long exams, hundreds of questions, right? At one sitting, like same day, whatever. So and sometimes 2 day exams, and so it's like it's a really long process. So you're studying a whole lot of material. So it's like sometimes I just get so overwhelmed. Like I don't even know where to start or what to even do, what I could be missing, or when I get to the end of this, I could be forgetting something else. So it's like I just get like you get frozen. You get frozen because you're so worried that you're like I can't do anything now because I'm so worried about doing something and that not going right. I just can't do anything now. I just get frozen. I'm like, oh, I'm not doing anything, and it's like you're in this space where you're just super unproductive, and then you feel terrible for being unproductive, and it's like it's a really vicious and terrible cycle that I've like had to deal with because like I'm not a person that's been like a great like super great memorizer of things or things that stick in my head really well. So I always had to study way, way, way hard to get stuff to really like, really, really cement in my head. So it's always been a process. That's been something I still struggle with. Not as bad, but I definitely like still struggle with it. But I think kind of like the main thing I think most people was like when you're talking to like people in general, like especially new people or like especially if it's like a girl you're attracted to, or like an important person like your boss, something like that, and like I feel like inevitably I will start just pooling sweat from my face.
Mhm.
My face will just pour, dude, and I'm like, I could even feel like I'm not nervous, right? Like in my head, I'm like, I'm okay, I'm cool, stuff is flowing right. My body's like, no, 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 you're still nervous. Just gushing from my face like waterfall. And that ish will then in turn make me feel nervous. And well, now I'm sweating a lot. And like, are you okay? I'm like, nope, I'm dying. you know. So I mean, yes is the answer. I think most people probably feel some level of it at some point, but definitely kind of figure out at different stages of life, like most of the stuff you're stressed about. I feel like, especially when you get done with it, you're like, oh well, that wasn't even worth stressing over, or that wasn't even worth being that anxious about because it wasn't even that big a deal in the first place. With a lot of stuff, so I try and keep that in mind before the thing happens, and keep things in perspective. Like life is bigger than whatever single moment for the most part. And if you make a mistake, generally, it's if you tried your best to prepare, you generally will make your way to at least an okay performance or presentation. Um, but yeah, sometimes you'll just have to do a little bit extra to
Mhm.
get past to get past those issues and anxieties. But I think, like I said, just keeping your mind focused on the bigger picture. You're alive, you're healthy, you're good. And if you make a mistake, you can always go back and fix it for the most part, unless it's like, of course, there's certain stuff, but for the most part, you can always go back and fix it. Like, yeah, don't go and drive off the road or some ish. And like, oh, whoops, But yeah, yeah,
Like you're not alone, right? It's like
right, for sure.
almost every sport has something like that, right? It's like where there's a performance thing they can't do that sport anymore. So it's not alone there, and similarly as obviously we're staying you're not alone and in normal
Regular
life as well.
people, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah, but yeah,
Good. Good. Good.
but yeah. And one thing I do want to add about it is that there's a famous-ish soccer player. I'm not gonna go too deep into it. Named Deli Ali.
Okay.
He has a really really big interview that he did maybe a few weeks ago about his whole battle with mental health and stuff in sport. And he was like, I mean, when I say like he went from like a super like low league, I think like League Two, which is like third or fourth division. I don't think it's League Two, technically the fourth division of English soccer. So very low division comparatively, to playing in the top flight Premier League for Tottenham, which is one of the considered top six teams generally in that league, and being really good for them. And he just kind of like faded away and disappeared, and started all of a sudden not being good, like out of nowhere, just not being good again. And then he ended up leaving that team and all this stuff. And so he kind of gave an interview recently about all the stuff he's kind of gone through in that process. But again, like a performance anxiety, life anxiety, everything kind of collapsing around him. But yeah, in general, I think the important lesson I think I take from all this stuff is like, even when we're looking at the outside from a lot of people's lives, whether it's a coworker or a basketball player, athlete, soccer player, gymnastics person, it's all just the outside point of view. We're never looking at what they're going through internally. So never, it's always for me best to never compare yourself because you never really know what else is going on with them and how your life can actually compare. You may be very similar in what you're going through for all you know. They're just not being very vocal about it. And so I think it's just best to kind of never try and project that on other people that, oh, you know, they don't understand, or they have such an easy life, or my life is so much worse than, you know, blah blah, which maybe it is, but again, that's the chances are there's someone else going through what you're going through. So, you know, just trying your best to, you know, either get help or be open to getting help, or, you know, trying to just push through and stick through and kind of stick to the more positive and the realistic side of it, of a lot of people go through issues and mental blocks and mental issues in their life, and it's normal. So I mean, yeah, but anyway, before we turn this into anything more than that,
Therapy, the podcast.
but yeah, you know, I don't know, yeah, it's good topic. I could talk a lot about this one by itself, but another excellent extra time. But before I close this out, anything else you want to add?
No, sir.
That's good.
Okay, so I mean, now that we're in agreement, we will close this out and appreciate you guys once again for spending some time with us and my new look, my new look point of view here because the other one is terrible lighting at this time of day. But glad you guys could join us and hope you enjoyed another episode of Procrastination Podcast. And please stay safe, and we appreciate you procrastinating with us.